In this video, we'll create leave entitlements and leave pay items. MYOB Acumatica Payroll tracks employees' entitlements as they accrue over time and allows entitlements to be paid out in employees' pay. In most cases, entitlements relate to employees' leave and are defined by legislation, but you can set up custom entitlements for anything. Once created, entitlements must be linked to pay items so that they can appear in employees' pay. An entitlement can be linked to multiple pay items for accruing and paying out the entitlement. Start by opening the entitlements form. Here is where calculations for entitlements are added or edited. You can set up entitlements owed to employees, whether accruing or non-accruing. Before adding a new entitlement, review the list to see if it already exists. Let's start by creating annual leave. Enter an entitlement ID and description and check the active checkboxes ticked. There are 4 tabs to be reviewed. Let's start with the Rules tab. The Rules tab is broken down into different sections: a definition and changes, properties, our pay slip, termination treatment, and self-service. The trigger date identifies when the entitlement will start accruing. In Australia, this could be the employee's start date, the start of the calendar year, the employee's date of birth, or a custom date. In this example, select the employee's start date. Next in the definition section is the choice between dollars or units. If units are selected, you can choose between hours, days, or pieces. Let's select hours. If this entitlement should be limited to a total accrual, then you can tick this option. Select how the balance of the entitlement should be treated at the end of the period. Either carry it forward or clear the balance. As this entitlement is for annual leave, select the Carry It Forward balance. Update the number of hours a full-time person would work per year. The Carry It Forward time is defined in the Changes section. The Changes section allows you to specify the entitlement accrual per period. This section is broken down into the time period after the trigger date, period duration, period entitlement unit, and lump sum. In this example, the entitlement is set up to start on the employee's start day, and the time period after the trigger date is 0. This ensures the accrual will start from the first day. The period duration is 12, and the period is defined as months. The entitlement is 152 units or hours over the 12-month period. If this entitlement is to be accrued only at the end of the period, then tick the checkbox for lump sum. Without the lump sum box ticked, the entitlement will pro-rata the accrual over each pay. The Properties section has important options. If you are setting up a leave entitlement, you would tick the Leave checkbox. This allows leave transactions to be included in the entitlement history report and entitlement adjustments to be updated if required. Once you have selected the leave option, you must select the leave type that applies to the entitlement. By ticking this checkbox, you allow this entitlement to be paid out or taken in advance, resulting in a negative balance. Tick the checkbox. Entitlement may be paid taken in advance to allow employees to use more than the balance owing. When calculating accrual in hours and the payment method is pro rata, it is possible for employees to accrue more than the standard entitlement. To stop employees from accruing more leave per period than specified in the Changes section, tick the Cap Accrual per period. To associate an accruing entitlement with an employee, the employee must have the corresponding accrual pay item in their standard pay. If the entitlement is non-accruing, for example, bereavement leave, you would tick this checkbox. By checking the non-accruing entitlement, balances aren't tracked and liabilities aren't recorded. This also disables options in the Properties and Payslip sections. The Payslip section determines how and what will show on the payslip. You must tick one or both options. Include the movement and the accruals. The Termination Treatment section tells the system what to do with this entitlement when you start the termination wizard or when the employee leaves the company. In this example, select the pay entitlement balance upon termination. Now, to specify how the entitlement should be treated, choose from annual leave, long service leave, time off in lieu, rostered days off, personal carers leave, or others. If other is selected, under the pay item, you will need to select the pay item you want to use to pay out this entitlement during the termination pay. In this example, select Annual Leave. The pay item field is only available if the following leave types are selected: bereavement, family violence, sick, or other leave. For annual, alternative, and public holiday leave, this field is disabled, and the system pay items are used to produce the termination payments. The self-service section determines how the balances will show in the self-service module. The Accrued From tab tells the system which pay items need to be considered when this entitlement is applied to employees. In this example, we will select wages. However, you may select as many pay items as required. With the Accrual From tab complete, the Membership tab is next. Once employees have this entitlement added to their standard pay, they will be displayed in this tab. There is nothing to complete in this tab. Let's move to the Valuation tab. This tab is where you tell the system how you want the units of the entitlement to be valued for the general ledger journals. In Australia, this would be set at the employee's current standard rate of the employee, whereas in New Zealand, it would be set up as a custom rate based on the leave types. There is only one other option, which is a specific pay rate. However, the rate field becomes inactive if you select the standard rate in the valuation method. Under the provisioning method, you can select actuals and estimated. Estimate allows you to choose a rate or percentage of the employee's gross earnings. If the provisioning method is set to actuals, you can tick Auto-Adjust Provisioned Entitlement Amount. When completing the current pay run, the system will automatically recognize a change in rate value and revalue the entire provisioned amount. Once an entitlement is saved, you can't delete it. However, you can edit, make it inactive, or update it over time. With the entitlement set up, you must set up a pay item to record the required entitlement accruals and payments. Start by opening the Pay Items form. Pay items determine how entitlements are transacted within a pay run. Most commonly, leave pay items are used in a pay run to accrue leave, pay out leave when an employee takes it, or pay out leave when an employee is terminated. The pay item and the entitlement work together to manage the balance and the value of the entitlement. Enter a meaningful pay item, ID and description, and payslip label. Select the type of entitlement accrual. The Attributes section affects the pay item as a whole. These yes or no questions are answered by selecting the type of entitlement, accrual, it has changed the entitlement to yes, and selecting the entitlement of annual leave. Here, you can see the pay item is broken down into 3 tabs. Let's start with the Calculation Method tab. The Accrual Method section is broken down into 3 options: Full Contract, Accrual, Accrued Pro Rata, and Explicit. In this case, select Accrued Pro Rata. Accrued Pro Rata allows you to add which pay items this entitlement accrual basis. As for Full Contact, Accrual and Explicit have fewer options available. With the Calculations Method tab complete, let's view the Additional Info tab. The Additional Info tab determines the visibility, override value, expense allocation settings, and analysis. We'll just update the option to show calculated units in the visibility section. Next, let's select the General Ledger Purpose Code for annual leave accrual here. Click Save. Open the Entitlements ID for annual leave and add the annual leave pay item to the Accrued From tab. Click Save. With one entitlement set up, we will create another. Click the plus icon to create an entitlement for compassionate leave. Set up the definition required for this entitlement. As compassionate leave is a non-accruing entitlement, select that checkbox. Click Save, as you don't have to reference the Accrued From Membership or Valuation tabs for a non-accruing entitlement. With a non-accruing entitlement set up, you now require a pay item to record when an employee takes compassionate leave. Let's open the Pay Items form. Click the plus icon. As we've looked at creating pay items earlier in this video, we'll focus on how to link to the compassionate leave item. This pay item will be used to pay out the leave. In the Type field, select Entitlement Payment. The option to allow leave reduction checkbox reduces the employee's wages or salary to avoid paying them too much. There is another setting on each employee, allowing employees to be excluded from this setting. For example, one pay item can be set up for salary and timesheet employees can use the same item. Next, select the Compassionate Leave entitlement. Then select the Additional Info tab and tick all the checkboxes in the Visibility section. Select a General Ledger Purpose code, and finally, click Save. Some employees may be entitled to leave loading, so we'll create a new pay item. Complete the summary section for leave loading. Select the type of allowance. Now, for the Calculation Method tab, start by selecting the percent of in the Method field. Now, in the percentage section, the following needs to be completed. Percentage of excluding the first dollar and per. In this example, 17.5% of selected pay items are summed. Please remember to check the award or legislation. Then, in the toolbar grid below, click the plus icon. Now select the Annual Leave Taken pay item. With the Calculation Method tab completed, click the Additional Info tab. Tick all the Visibility and Override Value checkboxes. Select the appropriate General Ledger Purpose code and save. With the Leave Loading pay item set up, it's time to link it to the Annual Leave Taken pay item under the Additional Info. With the Additional Info tab open, tick the Auto Load Leave Loading pay item in the Current Pay checkbox. Select Leave Loading and save. With all the entitlements edited or added and, where required, linked to pay items, they are ready to be assigned to employees.